Okay, what we're going to do today is very quickly go through the entire process of bringing in a student's picture of the graphic that they've created, bringing it into Illustrator, running the image trace process, learning a couple editing tips and tricks that are going to be really useful and probably used quite a lot. And then just kind of like assembling everything into one document that will become our starting place. That's what we're doing. I'm going to go over it really, really quickly. So I have received an email from a student, but this is going to be in some form or another. You're going to get a JPEG from students. In this case, I'm just going to copy image. You can also do a file save as and then file place. And I'm in Adobe Illustrator, and somewhere off of the canvas, I'm just going to say Control or Command V for paste, and it's big document, so it's going to bring it in here. And like I said, I'm going to just put that off of the canvas for right now. A couple bigger picture things panning out. Make sure that automation is selected here up at the top. Sometimes Essentials is the default and you'll be limited with how many tools are available to you. So go ahead and check that. Just make sure that that's there. When in doubt, if things are confusing or weird, go back to your selection tool, not the direct selection, but the selection tool. I like to think of that as neutral. It's a useful place to live. Okay, so right now I have a picture in here and I need to turn it into a vector graphic. We're going to get rid of some of this extra stuff, but I'm going to be mindful not to cut out any of the words in this case. I'm really just trying to make this a slightly smaller file for the next process that it's going to go through. And it is totally fine that it's got this other stuff in here. I'm going to show you what to do with that later. Cool, this looks pretty good, and I can see that this is cut off, but we're going to take care of that in a minute. Okay, so we've cropped the image, and now the big ask is image trace. This is going to say, it's a big file. Yep, I know. This is why it is good to save and save often. In fact, I should do that right now. I'm going to do Command S because, oh my God, these processes are kind of intense and they can crash the program sometimes. Okay, this came out pretty well, but I can adjust this. So I'm going to go into the image trace panel, pull it over to the side, open up the advanced tab. I'm going to share with you the common things that I do. Black and white, that's what we want for this application. Ignore white, yes please. Give it a sec, it's doing a lot of work. Okay, cool. Again, don't worry about that, but I'm just gonna kind of look at this. Is everything legible? That's what I wanna know. Sometimes if it's not, increasing the threshold to somewhere in this range can be very useful. I might increase it just a small amount. Usually a little bit goes a long way in this particular toggle. Paths, I usually have those pretty high. And noise, I typically set pretty low. We're not seeing a dramatic change in Dejanay's image here, but that's okay. Sometimes it'll be really dramatic and sometimes it won't. This is totally fine. I am happy with how this looks and I'm going to click expand. Okay, cool. So now I can close the image trace panel. I click off of the object. I'm going to click back onto it and I'm going to right click. Use a mouse. This is a word to the wise for life. This is a life lesson. Everybody needs this in your world if you're going to do design work. I don't know how you can do it any other way. Okay, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to click ungroup. Click off of the object, click back on it. Okay, it's still grouped together. Right click, ungroup, click off it, click on it. Oh, cool. Now we've got individual elements. Great. I can now delete some of the stuff that is less than ideal, like all this border stuff. That's going to be a very common one for you. If you accidentally, grab a letter and you delete it, you just do Command or Control Z. That is the greatest quick key in the universe, and I wish it also existed in real life, but that is undo. Okay, cool. That looks pretty good. Clean it up. This will also let you know like where you have like blips and dupes on your actual screen, because you go to like try to clean it up and it's like there's nothing there. It's because you have a dirty screen. Okay, I maybe just did that. All right, awesome. So I'm looking at this. Courageous. I really want that to be included in the project. I like that term here. So I'm going to try to recreate Dejanay's writing to the best of my abilities. I'm going to do that by using the paintbrush tool, and I'm just going to do a little test over here. And Control Z, Control Z. Okay, that was pretty small. I think I can change it right here to a different stroke. Let's try it in this order. There we go. Okay, so now neutral tool, selection tool, I'm just going to get rid of those. But I've got my paintbrush at a 5-point stroke, which is matching this pretty nicely. And I'm just going to come right in here. Oh, just kidding. That defaulted back to 1 point, but I can do this and let's see if it's just going to keep defaulting or if it's going to be happy. It is happier now. Sometimes Illustrator is mysterious, but you'll get used to it, and it'll also make you closer to every graphic designer out there when you do go down rabbit holes and find yourself getting frustrated. Okay, cool. So this looks pretty good. Something that I learned just a few minutes ago was that if I zoom out, and I'm doing that really quickly, I'm holding the Alt button or the Option button on my computer and the scroll on my mouse because I have a mouse. You can't do it another way. Actually, I'm sure you can, but I don't know how. I'm sure you can Google that. Okay, great. So select everything, and what I wanted to do is I want to group it again, actually, because right now I have lots of different elements and I could accidentally click and move things around in a way that I don't mean to. And so what I'm going to do is click and capture, got to get all of it, click and capture that entire image and Command or Control G for group. And now when I click on things, it's all grouped together. This is going to be really helpful because it's just going to let you keep track of things. So sometimes you're ungrouping and then regrouping. You do these things a lot. It's a very fluid process. If I click on the corner, the other thing I want to show you is how to maintain the proportions of your drawing or the object that you're manipulating. So I'm clicking with the left clicker and I am holding the Shift key down. And now when I drag in or out, it maintains those proportions. But in order for that to kind of hold true, I need to let go of the mouse and then let go of the keypad. Okay? It's an order of operations. If you do it backwards, you will very likely distort your image. We do not want that to happen unless we're doing it intentionally. Control Z, and I'm actually going to do a Control Z again because I wanted to point this out. Do you see how the line work here is not looking so hot where I did the repair? That's because and I'll make it even more dramatic here. Okay, so if I zoom in here, those strokes that I drew with the paintbrush, they are being maintained at 5-point width, but I just changed the size of everything else around it, and so now suddenly it sticks out. Control Z, Control Z. All right, I think that's where I want to be. Okay, great. So everything is grouped together and I haven't scaled it yet. So what I want to do, and I learned this just 2 seconds ago because I Googled it. So Google things when you don't know what to do. So you're going to click on the object, and then up here at the top it says transform. Go ahead and click on that. And down here it says scale strokes and effects. Yes, we want it to scale the stroke. So scale it, make it smaller when we make everything else around it smaller. And now when we come out here, again, click, left clicker, hold the shift key, drag it in. Let's see, I'm going to zoom in here, see if that fixed our issue, and it did. So see how everything is proportional now and looking nice and lined up and not out of place. Okay, great. This is basically the place that you are going to get everything to. Right now I'm just scrolling up and down, and sometimes that gets me confused as to where I am in space and time. If that ever happens, you can come down at the bottom. I believe there's a way to fit to screen. Command save, control save, get that saved. You can also do that under file. And I'm going to unhide some stuff. Cool. So this is sort of the core project, the Unity idea, and it's going to be surrounded by everybody's strength tiles. We may or may not keep them like all together, like the way that this one came in. We may break them up like I did up here. It's really going to depend on all the pieces and parts that we get. So the goal right now is going to be to get all of the strength tiles from our Google Upload folder into Adobe Illustrator, run the image trace process, clean it up, make adjustments, make it look good, fix things that are, messy to the best of our abilities, and then group those tiles together and just assemble them. Like they can be out here in the gray space. If we can get all of our tiles to this point, then together we're going to think about like what the best aesthetic is for the entire project once we have that information. All right, it's easy. That's it. That's all you have to do. I'm sure you won't have any questions at all. But if you do, I will be available, of course, as always.